Hello, my 462 students. I have a introduction to book rationales that I wanted to share with you before you do the book rationale assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and run through that with you. One second. Here we go. All right, let me get this into presenter mode here. So this is building off of a presentation that we gave at the Michigan Council for Teachers of English back in October. And it introduces folks to the NCT's book rationales if you're not already familiar with it. And here's a quote to start us off. Rationales are important tools for educators and school librarians to use in selecting and defending books. So, why the impetus for this presentation? Why this presentation? What has been happening recently is the kinds of books that are being censored tend to be books that are LGBTQI and BIPOC authors and characters. And because this is, of course, an Indigenous young adult literature, it's important to be aware that some of these books could be targeted for censorship. And so, what to do in that case. Another impetus for this presentation is that there is a lot of self-censorship, and then we're just seeing this big surge in censored books. And there's a sort of coordination of the challenges. So, about the surge, this infographic from the Office of Intellectual Freedom shows a number of unique titles challenged each year. And you can see starting in 2020, they just take off. And there's a huge surge in challenges. And the types of book challenged, you can use this QR code if you want to take a look at the top 10 most challenged books. This is from 2023, but you can see it's exactly what I was telling you before. We have BIPOC authors, we have LGBTQ authors and topics that are being targeted for censorship. And then something you may not know about is there's quite a bit of self-censorship as well. So in an environment where teachers are afraid that books that they teach might be censored, there's actually self-censorship that happens even before that happens. So according to the NEA today, 65% of teachers self-censor and 55% are doing that in states where there are actually no restrictions. So that's something to pay attention to as well. And then there's a coordinated effort with some groups like Moms for Liberty. They're trying to fight what they're calling woke indoctrination in public schools and advocating for removing these books from classrooms and school libraries. So, the National Council for Teachers of English is aware of this issue for teachers, and they have a standing committee against censorship, trying to uphold students' freedom to read. And the committee does work to create resources to support teachers, including this Intellectual Freedom Center that you can see on their website. And I think if you're concerned at all, you'll find these resources really helpful. So, one of the things that they have is this big bank of book rationales. And if you're teaching a new book, you can always look and see if that title's on their list of book rationales. And that can give you some information for the things that people might find concerning ahead of any challenges. And you can also find rationale and advantages of teaching the book there as well. And so for this class, I'm going to invite you to write a book rationale for an Indigenous young adult literature book. And if you would like, you can even submit it to NCTE and add to this effort. So let me go over the parts of the book rationale and how to do that. The first part is super easy, and I'll be modeling with a book by A.S. King called Attack of the Black Rectangles. It's actually a book about book censorship that came out in 2022. And the first thing you need is just the title, author, year, and a little picture of the book cover. The second part is to find the target grade level and audience. So there are lots of ways to do that. You could go just by Lexile measure, but as you know, that's not always an accurate representation of what the right grade level is. The Common Core has a really nice model for how to look at quantitative measures like Lexile scores, and also qualitative measures like what the content is, what the context of the book is, how complex or mature, what the mature themes are in there. So for this one, Scholastic lists the reading ages 9 to 12. But the grade level that we'd recommend is actually for grades 4 through 7. And that's because the main characters in the book are sixth graders. So, for sure, other sixth graders would be interested in the main character and the challenge that he's going through, and a little bit younger could read it or a little older. And then the third part of a book rationale is the plot summary. So for people who haven't read the book before, providing, a brief paragraph that goes over the basic plot is important. So in this book, there are 3 students and they're getting to do literature circles, which they're very happy about. And the book that they're reading is The Devil's Arithmetic. And what they find are these black rectangles in their text. So, of course, they run down to, find copies of the book that haven't been blacked out. And they find out that it was censored for containing the words breasts. And they felt like the book should not have had that part censored. And so they start this movement to protest it. And everything comes to a head, and there's some other issues that the students are dealing with. Like the main character's dad is separated and he's got issues. Um, but anyway, that's kind of the basic of the plot. So writing a similar length plot summary is what you would do. And then the fourth part of a book rationale is connection to the standards. So choosing what are the relevant standards that this book could address. So these are all sixth grade standards except the NCT standard, which is a more holistic standard. The fifth part suggested teaching approaches. So, for this particular book, because it's about censorship, you could read it during Banned Books Week and read some nonfiction pieces about what book banning is to raise student consciousness about that issue. You could also poll students about what books they think are banned and see if they are familiar with any of the books that probably work more with upper grade levels. And yeah, those are some things that you could do to get students interested in getting ready to read the book. And then the sixth part of the book rationale is to provide alternatives. So it's always possible that there are going to be some kids in the classroom who need an alternative book. Parents forbid the student to read it. And so an alternative for this book would be Fahrenheit 451. Because it's also on the topic of intellectual freedom. So even if the student's reading a different book, they could still partake of discussions about the main theme. Potential for challenges. So this is where you list like what are the potential issues that people might have with the book. So for this, this is a sensitive topic in our day and age, censorship, and people disagree about what intellectual freedom actually is. So those are some things that are some reasons why people might not want their child to read the book. So, um, but other than that, it's just there's nothing terrible about this book. Um, yeah. And then the next part is why the book is valuable. So this is really the nuts and bolts of the rationale. It's the reason why you have chosen to teach this book. So it's a good book for sixth graders to talk about being themselves, operating around people who have different views. So it turns out the person who is actually doing the censoring is someone they know very well. So, learning how to deal with that. And then there are topics like honesty, grief, divorce, and healing. And if you've ever read anything by A.S. King, you know this is an author who handles topics like that in a very sensitive way. So it also educates students about what censorship is. If they haven't experienced it themselves, helps them realize what it is, how it could happen. And I think that having the book in your classroom library or as part of a literature circle is great for enhancing student motivation, engagement, and success. So the book offers a variety of perspectives and social identities as well. So, it's a diverse group of kids, sixth graders who are dealing with the issue, and that's a great representation to have in the classroom. Here's some more references related to the book, and I'll post my slideshow in Google Classroom, so you can grab this if you want. And now it's your turn. So I'm going to post NCT's template and invite you to do this assignment. So, and I'll provide some other resources for it as well. But that's a basic introduction as to why it's important to write book rationales. Thank you. Hope you're all doing well. Bye.